Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakio. Thank you for joining me for this evening's meditation and sutra study. Tonight we'll be reading from the Vimalakirti Sutra. This evening's practice will consist of a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from the sutra, a Dharma talk, followed by a Q&A. These teachings are offered free of charge, but if you'd like to make a contribution, PayPal and Cash App info are in the description for this talk. And if you'd like to do a deep dive into Buddhist training, check out my book, Perfectly Ordinary Buddhist Teachings for Everyday Life. It's available on Amazon, and there's a link to a free sample chapter of the book, also in the description for this talk. So we'll begin this evening, like we always do, with our guided meditation. I'll give you a moment to get into position. You can sit cross-legged on the floor or on a cushion. You can sit in a chair. The only rule is that you have to be comfortable in a position that you can hold without moving for approximately 15 minutes. Okay, now that you're in position, we can start maybe by closing our eyes or keeping them half closed, pointed down at a 45 degree angle, whatever is more comfortable. This closes off the gate of sight, minimizes distractions. Straight back, chin slightly tucked. And now we're going to come into our body slowly by leaning our head to the left, then to the right, trying to touch our ear to our shoulder. Focusing on the physical sensation. Then we allow our head to come back to center. Rotate the shoulders forward. Very gently, focusing on the physical sensation. Backwards. Okay, and we just let them gently rest in the down position. The meditation will last for 15 minutes. I'll keep time. You don't need to worry about that. We'll start by focusing on the breathing. Breathing in and out through the nose. Signaling to our body that we're safe, that we can relax. Engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. With every inhale, we extend our belly button outwards slightly. With every exhale, we bring it back. Letting the diaphragm drop into our stomach. Getting nice full lungs of air. And we'll just do this for about 2 minutes. Just breathe. Give ourselves permission to do nothing for a little while today. Wonderful. Now we'll begin the visualization portion of tonight's meditation. We're going to bring our focus to the hara, which is the area right behind our belly button, the seat of our spiritual power, of our Buddha nature. We're going to visualize a light there. Whatever our favorite color is, that's the color of the light. Our favorite color is blue, the light is blue. If it's yellow, the light is yellow. With every inhale, we envision our breath going through our nose, down our throat, all the way down to that light, making it burn a little bit brighter. Just like we blow on a campfire to get it going. We're just going to do that for about 2 minutes, focusing on making our Buddha nature as big and as bright as we can get it. That's great. Now we're going to envision an energy channel, almost like a pipe going from our hara, the space behind our belly button, going down to the center of the earth. And the energy at the center of the earth is the same color as our hara. If our hara is blue, the light in the earth is blue. If our hara is orange, the energy at the center of the earth is orange. And once we build that connection between us and the earth, once we reach down to it, just like the Buddha did under the Bodhi tree, we're going to begin pulling all of that loving earth energy into ourselves. With every inhale, we pull energy up from the earth into our hara, the space behind our belly button. With every exhale, we blow on it like we would a campfire, making it as big and bright as we can. Every inhale, energy comes up. Every exhale, that energy gets brighter. And if our mind wanders, that's okay. That's what minds do. We just notice the thoughts. We say hello. And we bring our focus back to our breathing and the visualization. And that's what we're going to do for the next 2 minutes. Just pull that earth energy into ourselves and hold it there in our hara, making it as big and as bright as we can. That's great. Now we're going to build another energy channel, just like the one we built previously. But this one will go from our hara up, past our solar plexus, past our throat, right up to the top of our head. And now we're going to take all that healing earth energy we've gathered. We're going to expel it up this energy channel through the top of our head, and we're going to shower ourselves in loving kindness energy, which we've gathered from the earth. But before we do that, we'll take a moment to notice that even though the earth has given us so much healing energy, it's not depleted in any way. The more it gives, the more it has. And it's the same with us. We give love, we give compassion, we give wisdom, and we gain more in return. So now we're going to breathe in, and all that earth energy is going to come up into our hara, the seat of our spiritual power, and behind our belly button. And then we're going to breathe out, sucking in our belly button, sending that healing energy up through the top of our heads, and letting it shower all over our bodies like a volcano. We breathe in, the energy comes up from the earth, stopping in our hara. We breathe out, it pushes out the top of our head and showers down all over our body. And we're just going to do this for about 2 minutes. We're just going to breathe and heal ourselves with the energy of the earth. There are noises in our environment. The sound of a siren, the sound of running water, maybe a family member or friend moving in the other room. We treat these sounds just like we treat our thoughts. We say hello, and we bring our focus back to the breathing and back to our visualization. This too is part of practice. And now it's time to gently bring our meditation to a close. We'll do this slowly. First, we'll close off the energy channel between our hara and the earth. After that, we'll slow the energy flowing out the top of our heads. Eventually, it only reaches the top of our head without coming out. And we continue to breathe. That it only reaches the bottom of our throat. And we continue to breathe. And it stops at our solar plexus. And we continue to breathe. Until finally, the energy simply rests in our hara, the seat of our spiritual power, the seat of our enlightenment and our Buddha nature. And we just notice it, reminding ourselves that this energy is always there if we need to call upon it. That's the same energy that exists in all living beings. That's the same energy that helped Buddha realize enlightenment 2,600 years ago. But now it's time to take our focus off that energy and continue with the rest of our practice. So we'll slowly rotate our shoulders forward and back, coming back into the body, continuing to breathe. Being thankful we have bodies that allow us to practice in this way, the way that Buddhists have practiced for 2,600 years. Then we stop the shoulder rotation and let our heads hang to the left. And then to the right. Until finally they come to center. And when we're ready, and only when we're ready, we open our eyes. If they're closed, and I'll just give you about 20 seconds to do that. No rush. Wonderful. Thank you for doing that with me. Now that we're centered, now that we've reminded ourselves of our own enlightened nature, we'll tap into the enlightened nature of the Buddha by reading from the Vimalakirti Sutra. I think next week will be our last week with this sutra. We could spend an entire year on it, but I want to make sure we cover as much ground as possible. So next week will be our last week with the Vimalakirti Sutra, and then we'll move on to the Lotus Sutra, which is also quite good. In today's reading, Vimalakirti is speaking with, actually no, I apologize. Let's see, the Buddha is speaking with Jewel Accumulation Buddha. And this is a bodhisattva from a pure land where they realize enlightenment through grand adornment. So everything is covered with gold and various jewels, and it's very beautiful, so beautiful that just by looking at a tree or at a river, one is able to realize enlightenment. In our own world, this is also true. However, it requires a certain purity of mind to see the Pure Land in this life. But it's also here. But that's not the focus of today's reading. Today's reading, Buddha discusses how we manifest the pure mind in the Buddha mind in this life, and what the manifestation of our enlightenment looks like. So the Buddha says, jewel accumulation. You should understand that sincerity is the bodhisattva's pure land. When the bodhisattva attains Buddhahood, it It is sentient beings who do not flatter and lie that come to be born in his country. A profound mind is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva attains Buddhahood, it is the sentient beings who are complete in merit that come to be born in his country. The mind of Bodhi, bodhicitta, the intention to achieve perfect enlightenment is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings of the Mahayana come to be born in his country. Charity, dana, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. All sentient beings capable of renunciation come to be born in his country. Morality, sila, literally maintaining the precepts, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have fulfilled their vows to practice the path of the 10 types of good come to be born in his country. Forbearance, santi, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have ornamented themselves with the 32 marks of a Buddha come to be born in his country. Exertion, virya, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have energetically cultivated all the types of merit come to be born in his country. Meditation, jnana, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who control their minds and keep them undisturbed come to be born in his country. Wisdom, prajna, is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have achieved correct concentration come to be born in his country. The 4 unlimited states of mind, i.e. the Brahma Viharas, are the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have developed sympathy, compassion, joy, and equanimity come to be born in his Pure Land. The 4 means of attraction are the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings who have attracted through his emancipation come to be born in his country. Skillful means are the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. When the Bodhisattva achieves Buddhahood, sentient beings whose skillful means are without hindrance regarding all the dharmas come to be born in his country. So, what is Buddha describing in this reading? To understand this, we first need to understand the nature of enlightenment. Now, there's a lot of confusion around this because there are actually 3 types of enlightenment, and they're used interchangeably, which creates confusion. There is enlightenment as a state of being. We are enlightened beings. We are Buddhas. There is enlightenment as an experience, also sometimes called kensho, in which we're able to see into our enlightened nature. So this is Zen Master Wang Nong achieving enlightenment when he first hears the Diamond Sutra being spoken. And then there is enlightenment as an action, as a manifestation. And to understand these 3 types of enlightenment, we can just think of what it means to be human. There is humanity as a state of being. We are humans. There is humanity as conception, the becoming a human being, being born. And then there's the act of being human, behaving in a humane manner, behaving in a compassionate manner, a wise manner. All the things we associate with people, talking, eating, sleeping. So human exists in 3 different ways, and enlightenment also exists in 3 different ways. What Buddha is describing here is the action of enlightenment. To understand this a different way, this is why Zen master Shunryu Suzuki famously stated to his students, "You are all perfect and you all have a lot of work to do." Meaning we are all enlightened beings. We are enlightened as a state of being, but we have to work and practice at both experiencing our enlightenment as an event and also manifesting our enlightenment through our actions. What Buddha was describing when he talked about the 6 perfections, when he talked about the 4 Brahma Viharas, when he talked about maintaining the precepts, is how we manifest our enlightenment through our actions. And what we do when we do this is we sort of fake it till we make it in Buddhism. We know we are enlightened, and yet we don't always want to act in a generous manner. We don't always want to practice charity. We don't always want to practice exertion. We don't always want to get up and sit on the cushion. We know we are enlightened, but we don't feel enlightened. So what we do in Buddhism is we act in an enlightened manner. We manifest it until something happens and we have insight into our own enlightened nature. And the way this happens is different for everyone. For some people, it comes when we're practicing deep meditation. For other people, it happens when they're engaged in charity, maybe giving food to the homeless or preparing a meal for a loved one. For some people, it happens during moments of extreme exertion. They're climbing a mountain or they're running a marathon, and suddenly they gain insight into themselves that they didn't have before. The point is that when we talk about enlightenment, we're not just talking about a state of being. We're not just talking about a cosmic experience. We're talking about a thing that we do every day. We act out enlightenment. It's a verb. And part of the way we know that we are enlightened beings is that when we act in an enlightened manner, it feels good to us. It's in keeping with our true nature. We know we're enlightened because it feels good when we practice charity. We know we're enlightened because it feels good when we act with compassion and wisdom towards other people. We know that we're enlightened because when we practice skillful means, when we work with our suffering in a way that removes suffering for ourselves and for other people, we enjoy it. Suffering is not part of our nature. Causing suffering is not part of our nature. We know because we don't like it. The lesson, and this is where the hard work comes in, is learning how to deal with that suffering skillfully. Now, when Buddha is saying that this is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land, what he's saying, not only is this the way that we manifest our enlightenment through our actions, through the 6 perfections, through the 4 Brahma Viharas, through bodhicitta, the wish to realize enlightenment. He's also saying that these practices allow us to purify our mind so that we can see the purity of the world around us. Remember, in the Vimalakirti Sutra, Buddha tells us that this world we live in currently is the Pure Land. We don't need to go off to Mars or the moon or some other dimension. This land is pure enough. But we have to train our minds to see it that way. That's what he was explaining to jewel accumulation. Our land is just as beautiful as yours. It's just as pure as yours. But we have to train our minds to see it that way. And through these actions, through the 6 perfections, through the 4 Brahma Viharas, through loving kindness, through equanimity, through sympathetic joy, through compassionate action, we're able to gain that purity of mind and body and speech. And as we gain that purity of self, we're then able to do what? Manifest our enlightenment more fully. So we are simultaneously enlightened beings, and we are beings that are learning how to be enlightened. In the same way that we are all human beings, but at the same time, we are learning how to be human. We have to learn how to speak, how to walk, how to use the bathroom. A baby is a human being if they're not toilet trained, but we still teach them how to use the toilet. You are a Buddha, even if you don't always act that way. But the purpose of Buddhist training is to teach you how to behave like a Buddha, how to manifest your enlightenment fully in every moment. So that's why things like Sutra study, like Dharma talks, like meditation are so important, because they help us learn those lessons bit by bit. And our mode of learning is different for everyone. That's why if you go to a traditional Buddhist temple, they do a little bit of everything. They do some chanting, they do some meditation, they do some sutra study, some Dharma talks. They make you wash dishes and sweep the floors and work in the garden, because monks over the last 2,600 years have realized their enlightenment. They had that enlightenment event I spoke about earlier by washing dishes, by cleaning floors. So it's not just about free labor. We're looking out for you as well. But there's two key points to this. First, we have to remember that we are Buddhas, that we are enlightened, and that our focus then is simply learning to be more of who we already are. That's why the Heart Sutra says there's no attainment with nothing to attain. We have everything we need. And what Buddha is reminding us of in the Vimalakirti Sutra, that our Buddha land, our Pure Land, comes from learning to work with what we already have. So whatever your life is giving you at the moment, whatever suffering you have, whether it's a difficult friend or loved one, whether it's a job you don't like, whether it's college classes that are difficult, that is the perfect recipe for you to realize enlightenment. Everything you have is exactly what you need to realize enlightenment and manifest your Buddha nature. You just have to use skillful means, which was on the list, and work with it in a way that allows your enlightenment to come forth. And as you do that, you will, I promise, realize enlightenment in this lifetime and see the Pure Land that exists all around us. Amitabha. So that's the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. Now we'll move into the Q&A portion of this evening. You can ask questions about the talk I just gave, about the reading, about Buddhism in general. If you have other topics you'd like me to speak about at a later date, I do take requests. And also if you just have comments about something that came up for you during the reading or during the talk, those are welcome as well. And while we wait for those to come in, I'll make some announcements. This is our meditation and sutra study class. It meets every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The class consists of a 15-minute guided meditation, followed by a reading from a sutra, a Dharma talk, and finally a Q&A. We also do Dharma Sunday every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and that consists solely of a Dharma talk and a Q&A. If you'd like to read articles I've written about Buddhist practice, you can do that at my blog, The Same Old Zen. The link for that is in the description for this talk. Okay, let's see. Frank Ingiosi and Allison Griffin both gave the bow emoji. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Bowing is an important part of practice. And I get to do that every time you guys bow to me. So I really enjoy when we recognize the Buddha in each other in that way. So thank you. Brawley Khan said, can you please explain more about let emotions pass when meditating and not trying to control or ignore them? Sure, absolutely. So like I said during the talk, we have everything we need to realize enlightenment in our life. Now, it's different for everyone because we're all different types of Buddha. We're all unique. So the ingredients that Buddha needed for his enlightenment are different than the ingredients you need for your own enlightenment. But the point is, whatever you have is exactly what you need. You just need to work with it skillfully, using skillful means, which again was on the list of items that Buddha gave us for the manifestation of our enlightenment, the attainment of our Pure Land in this life. So the first thing we need to do is come to terms with our emotions, to simply accept them. In Western culture, we spend a lot of time trying to control our emotions. We think we're never supposed to be sad or depressed or angry, and that's just not in keeping with anything I've seen in the sutras. Our emotions are a part of our lives, and we have to work with them skillfully. So the first step is acceptance. Oh, I'm angry now. Oh, I'm sad now. Oh, I'm scared. I'm irritated. Whatever it is. And that's fine. That's simply the content of our meditation, the content of our enlightenment in that moment. And after we accept that, we simply bring our focus back to our focus of concentration. So in meditation, what we generally do is we focus on the breathing. And then during meditation and sutra study, we do the visualizations as part of the guided meditation. And we can think of this as a fire. Buddha in the Nirvana Sutra describes our emotions as a flame. And he describes nirvana, that is inner peace, as the extinguishment of that flame. But nirvana, inner peace, exists on a spectrum. Sometimes our emotions are burning very hotly, and we're very upset, very activated. Sometimes they cool off. Now, this happens on its own all the time. We have good days, we have bad days, etc. But through our training, we can learn to take control of this process. We're not dependent on our family or our friends or a TV show to make us feel good if we have strong emotions. Instead, we take that work on ourselves. And we appreciate it when our family or friends do something nice for us, but we do the heavy lifting on our own. And that's the focus of meditation, is learning how to do that work. So imagining your greed, your anger, and ignorance, let's say the three poisons, as fires that are burning inside of you. Whenever you have a fire that you want to get rid of, when I was in Boy Scouts, we just stopped putting wood on it. And it would burn, and it would burn, and eventually it would run out of fuel. So our practice then is learning not to put fuel on the emotions we have during our meditation. So what happens is we get angry, and we notice, oh, I'm angry. And we bring our focus back to our breathing, the inhale and the exhale, the physical sensation of the breath moving in and out of our lungs. We don't try to stop ourselves from being angry. We just notice it, come back to our breath. Notice it, come back to our breath. We don't put fuel on the anger. And then what happens over time is that thought that made us angry, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 9. It starts to lose its energy, it loses its power. It goes from a 9 to a 7. It goes from a 7 to a 4. From a 4 to a 2, until eventually we barely notice it. Not to say we don't get angry anymore, but the anger is gone in an instant. And in the meantime, we know what to do with our anger, again, skillful means, so that it doesn't consume us. So the fire doesn't burn out of control. And that's all meditation is. It's just retraining our minds. So when we think about that person who dinged our car in the parking lot, instead of going down a rabbit trail of, I can't believe they did that, my insurance is going to be a fortune, why can't people have more respect, and working ourselves up into a ladder, well, yeah, that happened. Back to the breath. Oh man, my insurance. Back to the breath. Why can't people be more respectful? Back to the breath. And this isn't something we do once. We'll do this 10,000 times. It's a lifetime practice. That's why the Buddha, after he realized enlightenment, continued practicing for another 45 years, because we as Dharmakaya are subject to defilements. That's constant. There will always be greed, anger, and ignorance around us, no matter where we go. So our practice has to always be constant. We're always meditating, always chanting. That's why consistency is so important with meditation. Meditating for an hour once a week or once a month isn't going to do much for you. Meditating for 1 minute every day will do a lot. So consistency is the key. Great question, Raleigh Khan. I hope that answered. If not, feel free to follow up. Divad Buddha X did the Bowen emoji. Thank you, Divad. It's good to see you again. Good to see everyone. And Shane Atkinson said peace. Hi, Shane, Imam Shane, how are you? Imam Shane is a chaplain at Elon University and a good friend of mine. So I'm glad he was able to join us today. Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments this evening? Okay, well, it looks like that's it for tonight. Thank you so much again for joining us or joining me this evening. I hope to see you again on Sunday. Again, we'll do the Vimalakirti for 1 more week. And then after that, we'll go on to the Lotus Sutra, which is also very interesting. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Frank Ingiosi said, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So until next time, Amitabha.